No Atom, Grade 5, Unit 4, Matter and Energy Cycles. Section 2, Interconnected Organisms. Why squirrels store food. Squirrels are food gatherers and hoarders. They spend much of their time gathering and eating acorns and other nuts. This is because they have front teeth that never stop growing. As a result, squirrels have to gnaw on things to keep their teeth from growing too long. Caption: Squirrels have teeth that never stop growing. Squirrels don't just gather enough food for 1 or 2 meals. Instead, they store extra food sources for the winter, when there is less food available. Food provides squirrels with energy and nutrients. Nutrients are chemicals that organisms need for growth and the maintenance of cells. Like all living things, squirrels need both energy and nutrients to survive. Energy is different from nutrients because energy is not matter. Nutrients are matter because they are made up of atoms and molecules. When squirrels and other animals breathe, eat, and drink, they take in molecules of air, food, and water. These molecules get into cells and help them function. Of an ecosystem. Squirrels are common in many different ecosystems around the planet. An ecosystem is a community of different organisms that depend on interacting with each other and their physical environment for survival. All ecosystems include living things: oxygen and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water, and energy from the sun. All the parts of an ecosystem work together to make a balanced system. For example, squirrels depend on trees that produce acorns and other nuts for food and shelter. At the same time, some squirrels help trees produce new trees. For example, when the gray squirrel buries its acorns all over, it forgets where it has buried some of these acorns. In time, these forgotten acorns grow into trees. This helps trees reproduce. Squirrels also need trees because, like all animals, squirrels breathe in oxygen. Plants release oxygen during photosynthesis. Squirrels and other animals breathe out carbon dioxide, which plants need for photosynthesis. This exchange is called the oxygen cycle. Caption: Plants and animals exchange gases. Energy moves through ecosystems. The need for energy also connects all living things in an ecosystem. When plants capture the sun's energy and turn it into chemical energy stored in glucose through photosynthesis, they are performing an important function. That energy will get passed between organisms as they eat one another. The path that energy travels as one organism eats another is called a food chain. Food chains always begin with energy from the sun and then move to plants and other producers. Producers are organisms that capture energy from sunlight through photosynthesis. When organisms eat one another, some of that energy that started with the sun gets passed along. Diagram: a food chain. Sun, energy source. This oak tree captures the sun's energy through photosynthesis. When this squirrel eats an acorn, it gets some of the tree's energy. When this coyote eats a squirrel, it gets some of the squirrel's energy. Eating for energy. When squirrels eat nuts, they get some of the tree's energy. Squirrels are consumers because they must eat other organisms for energy and nutrients. All animals are consumers. Food also gives animals the materials they need for body repair and growth. For example, when animals eat plants, they absorb some of the plant's glucose. They also absorb some of the carbon atoms that the plant had stored for its growth and development. There are different kinds of consumers depending on what an organism eats. Any animal that eats producers is called a primary consumer. Butterflies are primary consumers that eat the nectar of plants. Primary consumers are also called herbivores. Caption: Butterflies eat nectar. Carnivores eat only other animals. Coyotes are common carnivores that eat many different kinds of animals. Coyotes eat deer, sheep, rabbits, rodents like squirrels, snakes, and fish. Caption: Coyotes eat many animals. Other animals eat both plants and animals. These are called omnivores. Squirrels are omnivores. They eat nuts, fruit, and seeds, which are all plants. They also eat insects and caterpillars, which are other animals. Caption: Squirrels are omnivores. Any organism that eats primary consumers is called a secondary consumer. Any organism that eats a secondary consumer is called a tertiary consumer. Omnivores and carnivores can be either secondary or tertiary consumers, depending on what they eat. When animals and plants die, living things called decomposers will eat their remains. Decomposers are organisms that break down organic material and feed on the nutrients. They put nutrients, matter, back into the ground. Plants will then use those nutrients to grow. Bacteria, worms, and fungi are common decomposers in a food web. As energy flows from the sun to producers, and then to consumers and decomposers, it always moves in one direction. A food web is a visual that shows the network of food chains in an ecosystem. It shows the complex set of relationships between organisms that are linked by the flow of energy. Because energy flows in one direction, life requires a constant supply of energy from the sun. A forest food web. Matter cycles through ecosystems. In contrast to energy, matter is always cycling through ecosystems. Most of the matter that is on Earth today has been around since the planet first formed. Matter is transferred and recycled at every level of a food web. All organisms need to take in new matter to keep their cells healthy and functioning. The nutrients an organism takes in to help the organism grow, develop, and reproduce. Diagram: Matter cycles through ecosystems. For example, the gases oxygen and carbon dioxide are cycled through the atmosphere as plants take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen, while animals take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Carbon and oxygen are also cycled through organisms. When plants and animals die, decomposers break down the carbon atoms and return them to the environment. Water is also cycled throughout an ecosystem. Plants absorb water through their roots. They release some of that water back to the environment through transpiration. Animals drink water and then release some of the water back into the environment as part of their waste.